So welcome back to the Headbangers Open Air review. So today it will be the Thursday, the 27th of August, 2023. So the lineup for the Thursday would be opening act, Metal Witch, followed by Night Laser, Jet Jaguar, Savaged, Traitor, Holy Moses, and headlining acts would be Sacred Reich. Now, I'd have to say the first four bands on the lineup I've never actually heard before. So I did my research and went on YouTube and checked them out before the actual festival started. So Metal Witch, Night Laser, Jet Jaguar, and Savage were all the interesting bands, really well worth checking out, metalheads. So the opening act was Metal Witch from Germany, actually based in Hamburg. They were formed back in 1985, believe it or not. Then they dismantled back in 1987 and to be recording 2 records. So the first album would be released in 2008. It was called Rising from the Grave. This would be followed by a split EP and a demo tape. And the last album was released in 2016. This was called Tales from the Underground. So the lineup for this band is they're a 5-piece band. We'd have Thorsten Meyer on bass guitar. We'd have Rudiger Voltit on drums. We'd have Lozen Lope on guitar. We'd have Ingo Hens on guitar and vocalist Kay Rodescu. They kind of remind me of the band Paragon, Gravedigger, maybe a hint of Accept and Judas Priest, but they really are putting some good music together. And I thought live they were a fantastic band, great opening act, really got the crowd going, very energetic on stage, full of power, and they're a really good all-around band. So if you like your power metal with a bit of speed metal and traditional heavy metal, Metal Witch is a band that you really need to check out, folks. Metal Witch were a fantastic opening act. They certainly delivered a powerful set. The crowd enjoyed it, plenty of headbanging, all around a great band from Germany. So check them out, guys. They've done 2 albums. The band's called Metal Witch. So the set list for Metal Witch at Headbangers Open Air Festival would be Standing in My Way, Valley of the Kings, Still Going Strong, Believe in the Power of Rock, The Heart of England, The Man Who Wouldn't Live, The Curse of the Wolf, Metal Witch. So that's the set list for the band. They only did a short set list, but what they did do was fantastic, very powerful, very in your face. And please, like I said, check those guys out. They're a fantastic band, well worth listening to. And so we come to the second act for the Headbangers Open Air, Night Laser from Germany. Now, these guys are also another band from Hamburg, originally formed back in 2014, and are a 4-piece band. So the lineup, we have Robert Hankers on bass guitar, we'd have Bino Hankers on vocals, we'd have Ingo Oswood on drums, Felipe Manta on guitars. Now, these guys have released 3 albums. The first debut album was released in 2014. This was called Fight for the Night. This was followed by Laserhead in 2017, and the band's current release is called Power to Power, released in 2020. Now, Night Laser are a little bit more traditional, slightly different from Metal Witch. They're a little bit sounding like Dokken. Maybe some of the vocal harmonies are a little bit cheesy, like Manowar. I guess you could also say that the band have a vibe and influences of Steel Panther. They certainly have the image of Steel Panther somewhat. No disrespect to the band, but they delivered a really strong, powerful set. Like I said, they've done 3 albums. They're new to me. I've never heard the band until recently, the Night Laser. Now, I'd have to say that Night Laser came across pretty good live. They pulled off a pretty good set. The crowd seemed to enjoy it. And the songs that the band played were Chaos Crew, Street King, Prime Minister of Rock and Roll, Trouble in the Neighborhood, Bread and Circus, LA One Day, Fight the Blues, Laserhead, On My Own. So that was a set list for the band Night Laser. Now, the next band to hit the stage was a band from Mexico called Jet Jaguar. Now, I'm going to have to say this about this band. They were absolutely fantastic. Now, I've never heard the band before. And after watching their performance, I had to go to speak to the band and ask them if they released any albums and where they were from. Very powerful band, great singer, great musicians all around. So these guys were formed in Mexico in 2014. And with the lineup being Max Mendoza on vocals, a fantastic singer, very powerful. We'd have Jimmy Alonso on drums, great drummer. We'd have Jorg Ramazzi on bass guitar, and would also have a guitarist, Araya Q AC. Fantastic band all around. Originally formed as a 5-piece, but now down to a 4-piece. So you're probably asking, how many releases have this band done? Well, they did a demo back in 2014 called Call for the Fight. They also released an EP in 2016. This was called 0 Hour. followed by a single called ROD, Race or Die. Up to the Top was the next single in 2018. Blinding Lights, a single in 2019, and the band's debut album, Endless Nights, in 2020 on Pride and Joy. Now, I have to say, like I said, these guys were absolutely fantastic live. They were one of the best bands on the day. Really, really impressed me, and they did a fantastic performance. All around, a really good melodic band from South America. Now, South American bands, as we all know, have some extremely powerful singers out there from places like Mexico, Brazil, Argentina. There's some really good musicians from South America. And these guys' debut album release has 10 songs on it. So I'm going to tell you what the music's actually like. They kind of remind me a cross between Fifth Angel, Leatherwolf, Vicious Rumours, Dokken, and also Crimson Glory. So you get a vibe of the music. They are brilliant musicians all around, and I'm really looking forward to seeing and hearing the next album. These guys were fantastic live, really powerful, very professional. The band did a tour of their own after the Headbangers Open Air, so they were out in Europe for a month doing their own shows. Much love and respect to those guys. So if you want to check out an interview that I did with the band, there will be a link at the end of this review. So if you want to go and check out what they have to say, please do. Brilliant band all around. Jet Jaguar from Mexico, one of the best bands of the Thursday performance. Well done, guys. Now, the next band to hit the stage would be a band from Spain called Savaged. And so the lineup for Savage would be Christian Blade on drums, we'd have Alexi Harris on bass, Jamie Killhead on guitar and lead vocals, and we'd have Joanne Gilmelt on rhythm guitars. So that's the lineup for Savaged. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any information on the internet about when these guys were formed, but they have done one EP and a single, and they're signed to No Remorse Records. Originally from Spain in Barcelona, the band's first release would be released in 2021. It was an EP called Knights of Metal. This was followed by a single in 2023 called Running for Your Love. Now, having listened to a couple of songs from the EP, they kind of remind me of a speed metal, a little bit power metalish. And they kind of remind me a little bit of early Savage Grace, or maybe a little bit of Iron Angel from Germany. And so for a four-piece, these guys are really, really good. You know, I'm looking forward to hearing what the band are going to do in the future. So for a four-piece band from Spain, the set list that the band played was I Will Fight, Knights of Metal, Money Sucks, Elm Street, Steel in the Night, Tons of Leather, Running for Your Love Tonight. So that was a set list. So interesting band, Savaged. Next up was a German thrash band called Traitor. Now, some of you guys out there will probably know this band. Now, I know these guys have been around for many years. They started back in 2009, and they've pretty much made a name for themselves on the underground thrash metal scene. So these guys are a four-piece band. We'd have Andreas Moz on drums. We'd have Lenzo Kandoff on bass guitar. We'd have Gerard Henry on guitars and vocals, and we'd have guitarist Matthias Koch. Now, the band would release their first release. It was a demo in 2009 called Thrash Metal Victory. This would be followed by Eternal Nightmare in 2009. Also, Incantation to Aggression with a live album in 2010. The first full album would be called Thrash Command, released in 2012. And later on, the band would do albums such as Venomous, which released in 2015, and Knee Deep in the Dead, 2018. And the band's last album was called Exile to the Surface. This was released in 2022. This would be released on Violent Creek Records. Now, these guys really shook the stage live. They really were slap-in-the-face thrash metal, playing old school thrash, which is something I really like to hear. They were very, very brutal live. They were very energetic, full of aggression, full of power, and they did a fantastic performance. Now, the music kind of reminds me of the first Exhumer album, Possessed by Fire. Also, early Creator, such albums as Endless Pain and also Pleasure to Kill. Vocals are very aggressive and remind me pretty much of very early Millie from Creator. Another German band that would spring to mind when I listen to this band is a band called Mandator, who released 2 albums back in the early days. And also Assassin, Upcoming Terror. So you get the vibe of what style of thrash metal they're playing. They were really fantastic band live. Like I said, full of energy. They're putting off fantastic performance. The crowd were really loving it. There's plenty of mosh pits going on. Like I said, the band are really good live, very tight, and the albums sound fantastic. So you need to check out these guys out, metalheads. The band's called Traitor, and the latest album is called Exile to the Surface. And so the songs that Traitor played live would be Exile to the Surface, Toxic Death, Reactor 1V, Albia, Mad Dictator, FUAD, Venomizer, Total Thrash, Thrash Command, Zodrak. So that was a set list for the thrash metal band Traitor from Germany, a really good band, really powerful, and they're playing old school German thrash metal. So if you like your old school German thrash metal, this band definitely needs to be heard. So next to hit the stage was also another German band. We're talking about Holy Moses. This is Sabrina Class's band. Now, Sabrina's been doing Holy Moses for many, many years. Now, I have a lot of respect for Sabrina. She's been doing this for many, many years. And it's a shame that the band are calling it a day. But this band have been around since 1980. The band released a demo back in 1980. This was called Black Metal Masters, followed by another demo in 1981 called Holy Moses. The band didn't actually record their first debut album until 1986. This would be called Queen of Siam, which would be released on a label called ARG Records. Now, the band released their second album called Finish with the Dogs, also on the same label, in 1987. Now, for me, Finish with the Dogs was one of the most brutal albums the band have done. It's very cult classic, very in your face, thrash metal. But to hear Sabrina's voice back in the day was pretty much a shock for all of us. Who was singing this? Was it a man? When we all found out it was a woman, we're just like totally blown away. You must agree she is one of the best singers out there in extreme metal. Now, the band have recorded 12 albums in total, with their album called the 30th anniversary of In the Power of Now. The band's current album is called Invisible Queen, released in 2023 on Fireflash Records. Now, this is called Invisible Queen. It's the last album they've done. I wish Sabrina all the best for the future, whatever she decides to do. But the current lineup for Holy Moses is so far. Sabrina Claston on vocals would have Thomas Nestish on bass. We'd also have Gerd Lokin on drums and Peter Geldat on guitar. Now, I've never seen Holy Moses live before. Unfortunately, I missed him when they played Wacken many years ago. And to see them for the first time I was pretty excited to see them actually. And to hear Sabrina's voice was like, holy shit, she is one godmother of death, brutal thrash metal. Who's going to mess with a voice like that? She was really into it. The crowd were enjoying it. The band were having fun on stage. They did a brilliant set. I just wish the band all the best. And if they do reform back in the future, great. If not, then they've done a fantastic career. But Sabrina is the godmother of thrash death metal vocalists. And so the set list for Holy Moses would be Defcon 2, Panic, SSP, Secret Service Project, Near Dark, Invisible Queen, Cult of the Machine, Nothing for My Mum, World Chaos, Jungle of Lies, Hellbound, Undead Dogs, Finish with the Dogs, Life's Destroyer, and the last song will be called Current of Death. So a fantastic band, brilliant band. If you've not heard Holy Moses before, please check them out. Next band would be the headliners for the day. It would be Sacred Reich from Arizona, a cult classic thrash metal band from the 80s. Now, we're all Sacred Reich fans out there, pretty much all of us. I love Sacred Reich. I managed to see these guys live back in the 80s with Forbidden, a fantastic tour. Originally formed back in 1984 in Phoenix, Arizona. Phil Reiner on bass guitar and vocals. We'd have Wally Arnett on guitars. We'd have Greg Hall on drums and Jason Reiner on guitars. Sadly, Jason passed away a few years ago, so rest in peace, Jason. Now, Sacred Reich couldn't have formed at a much better time back in the 80s. The first album is a cult classic. We all know it. I don't think this band are going to do anything as good as this. I hope they do. They're a great band, but the debut album, Ignorance, released in 1987, is one of the best fucking thrash albums out there. Every song is strong, powerful, slap in the face thrash metal. After the release of the Ignorance album back in 1987, the band would release the next album in 1990. This was called The American Way, which is a fantastic follow-up to the debut. Which after that, the band did the Independent album in 1993, followed by the album Heal in 1996. This would be the last album with the band, only to see the band return in later years, doing classic songs from the first four albums. This would spark the band to continue and record a new album. So in 2019, the band released their new album, which was called Awakening, for Metal Blade Records. So the band's current lineup would be Phil Ryan on bass and vocals, would have Willie Warnett on guitars, lead guitars, would have Dave McCullen on drums. Dave would join the band for the album Heal back in 1996. Now, Dave was also involved with a band called S.A. Slayer. Later on, he joined the band Machine Head. And also on the band currently now is a young guitarist called Joey Raswell, rhythm guitar, great guitarist, full of energy. Now, I've seen these guys several times back in the day, and the last time I saw these guys live was at Bang Your Head Festival back in 2010. So it was great to catch up with these guys and have a chat with them after the show. They pulled a fantastic performance at Headbangers Open Air. There's some really classic songs from the early days. Me personally, I'd love to have seen them do more songs from the Ignorance album. In fact, I'd like to have seen them do the full album in its entirety. This would have been one hell of a show. But Sacred Reich are still a classic band doing some great songs. Very tight, powerful unit. So watching these guys at the Headbangers Open Air, I was really excited to see them live again. They did a fantastic set. Like I said, the crowd were really into it. Nice little mosh pits going on. The band were having fun. You could see it in their faces. They were really tight live. They pulled a fantastic performance and played roughly about an hour set. And so the band would open up with the song American Way, Manifest Reality, Divine and Conquer, One Nation, Awakening, Independent, Free, Who's to Blame, Ignorance, War Pigs, Salvation, Hate, Love and Hate, Killing Machine, Death Squad, and the last song would be the cult classic Save Nicky Jaguar. So closing act, Sacred Reich for the Thursday. Fantastic closing performance. They pulled a fantastic set off with some great songs. I'm looking forward to seeing these guys in the very near future. Best of luck to them. So we're going to be talking about the Friday set very shortly.